Alright, today I'm going to be talking about renovating a residential property or single family home. I mean, you can apply it to both in preparation to sell. So, first off, I feel like this is one of the big things we just need to get right out the gate. If you were selling your single family residential property and you live in it, you need to make sure you remember you are not going to be living in it anymore. You need to stop viewing it as if you're going to be living in it. Because a lot of times, if you let your feelings take over and you're too focused on how would I like it, and you know what I mean? Let's say this definitely works, but this looks way better, even though it's more expensive. If you take that in consideration, that like what you want and what you would like when you live there, you're gonna end up going over budget, and that's just hands down. You need to forget that. You just need to learn how to get that owner, you know what I mean, occupant image out of your head as you the person. You know, it's not always about what you would like, it's about what works and what's going to save you more money in the down run. So budgeting is huge. You never go overboard because it's going to backfire. Because first of all, when you're selling the property, a lot of the people even viewing the property will also underestimate how much you did and how much the value of your improvements, which is kind of ironic, which we'll get to later, how they actually overestimate what you don't fix. So another thing is, make sure you don't get arrogant when it comes to self-improve, like, you know what I mean, improving the property yourself. Like painting, obviously anybody can do it. I mean, you can even look up a few YouTube videos on certain stuff, but if you're starting to get into more technical, like electrical issues and stuff like that, it is worth hiring a professional. Don't, even though if you feel you're like you know what I mean, you feel comfortable doing it, it may not be the best idea, and it will definitely save you money in the long run. Because think about it, if you mess something up, that ends up costing you more money. Certain stuff you can do by yourself, and you need to make sure you set, obviously if you're like an electrician though, I mean there's definitely exceptions, but you need to make sure you set aside what you know you're capable of doing when it comes to renovating properly, just to save you the most money. There's definitely time for you to learn too, but when the preparation for selling, it is not the time to take a whole month to just learn how to do like electricity or plumbing by yourself. So number one is curb appeal. So you got to picture, go ahead and just like drive up to your house from different angles. Just walk around your house from different angles. Angles are huge, because if you walk, a lot of times when people enter the house, they go through the same way. If you view it from a different angle, a lot of times you'll see stuff that you never saw before. Let's say you don't see this room as messy, but when you go from another angle across the room, you're like, oh wow, there definitely is some clutter in here that I just never noticed before, because you're so used to seeing it. So you get your eyes to, if your eyes aren't adjusted to a certain angle, a lot of times they'll reveal stuff that you may not be used to. So I mean, I kind of like I guess you could say it as like looking in a mirror versus seeing yourself in a picture. You know what I mean? The image is flipped. I guess that's how you can explain it. So, next thing I'd recommend is, if this is huge actually, I don't recommend this. This is like 100% must. If it is not broke, do not fix it. If it's in working form, it's fine. Even though you may want to fix it, keep in mind, if it works, don't fix it. You are going to go over, and the person who is purchasing the property most likely will underestimate how much it costs to repair the whole thing. So if it is not broken and it is working condition, do not fix it. Otherwise, you're going to end up going over budget. And next thing we get to, my phone keeps shutting off, is you want to prioritize some rooms over others. So for example, the kitchen's the number one priority. Kitchens, you cannot, if you got like amazing looking like master bedrooms and you just got a garbage kitchen, it literally messes up everything. The kitchen is where a lot of the family bonding happens. At least that's with my family. I noticed that when there's so many get together in the kitchen, a lot of stuff goes on in the kitchen. Everybody's in the kitchen. I mean, I don't know. I can't even think of a day that I've walked around my house and haven't been in the kitchen at least once. Let's think about it. You know what I mean? Next is the master bedroom. That's the second most important, and then also a lot of the bedrooms are very important. Master bedroom's huge too. Kitchen's definitely above it though. But don't prioritize, like, let's say you got an unfinished basement or for a sort, or like even if you have a finished basement and then you have an unfinished bathroom like in the very corner of the basement all the way in the back, do not prioritize over that. It is way worth putting more, you know what I mean, equity into other forms, you know, and putting more money into such as the kitchen or master bedrooms or the master bathroom than that. Because a lot of the times people are not going to be focused on that. So it is better to put your money towards other, like the prioritizing, you know what I mean, the rooms. Have a priority list, you know. Do everything else first. Maybe if you have a tiny bit left over your budget, then maybe do something special with it, or maybe even just fix it up, you know? Don't do like some crazy thing. I think there was one example I saw where someone wanted to make a shower bigger, so then they end up busting down a whole wall and then end up like delaying the whole process of selling their house. Don't do anything insane last minute. That can cause some issues. So next, don't go flashy. Don't overdo it and like go like, oh, I'm gonna make this stand out so much. You know what I mean? Go with neutral colors like gray, white. Even though like, okay, someone may argue that's a boring color, but at the end of the day, it's the safe way to go. You do not want to paint your walls rainbow. Even though you have some buyers loves rainbows and they'd be willing to buy it, is not worth it. You always go with the neutral color. Therefore, you'll appeal to more of a wide variety of buyers, which is the whole point. Because you'll get more offers. So do a lot of improvements. Believe it or not, like when people view a house, a lot of it's psychological. You need to make sure when this isn't mainly selling. This is not you know what I'm trying to say is this isn't really necessarily, I'm trying not to talk about selling, I'm talking about like renovating techniques in preparation to sell, but I guess I will touch a bit on selling because it's kind of hard to explain without it. So some simple improvements are like psychologically enhance the whole view of the whole house. It's weird. A lot of the way people view houses psychologically, they see it and they want to picture themselves. If they're able to picture themselves owning the house and enjoying it, a lot of the times that really increases the probability they'll purchase it. For example, granite countertops. Granite countertops, the funny thing is they're not even the best type of countertop you can get. But a lot of people see those and they automatically go, oh wow. And they're psychologically in their mind like, this house is of value. I see granite countertops. Even though it's just the countertops, it literally may enhance their vision of the whole house. They're symbols of quality. A granite countertop is a symbol of quality, for example. So a lot of psychological, which is pretty funny. And the last thing is, it never hurts to know what your neighbor's up to and what type of renovations they're making, what's their standard. You know what I mean? Compare your house to your neighbors. Just kind of maybe even ask them if you really know well. Just can I look around to see what type of improvements you made? You know what I mean? I'm interested in trying to sell my house, and I really just want to get an idea, you know what I mean, of the local market. I'm sure as long as you just, you know what I mean, you don't bother your neighbor 24/7, they'll be fine with it. So just go ahead and walk around to see what they're up to. You know what I mean, renovating wise, and just see what the condition of their property is. And if you do that, then you can really get a good idea of what you need to do. I mean, obviously for your neighbors, like putting in an in-ground tool in their backyard, don't do anything drastic just because your neighbor did that. Like, it's actually pretty funny because a lot of times, like if you go to places like Arizona where a lot of properties have pools, it's actually a downside to have a pool because people see it as a money pit when it comes to residential properties. So, and there's a point where like, when you go to some areas, there's like more, like probably 50% of houses have pools, which is actually pretty crazy. But a lot of people see them as money pits. So don't, just because your neighbor's doing it, take it with a grain of salt and don't just copy everything your neighbor does. Because they may be living there for a long time and they'll not enjoy it. But just remember, you are not going to be the owner. It's not all about what you would see fit and what's the nicest that you would enjoy. It's about getting it into a standard and budgeting the market, the property, you know what I mean, with minimal overspending. You don't want to overspend. Never overspend. And because the way to buyer, just remember, the buyer, he will overvalue how much it costs to fix things, and then he'll undervalue how much it took you to renovate. So, or if they see, you know what I mean, they're going to undervalue how much you spend. It's just psychological. It's the way, you know what I mean, the world works. It's psychological. A lot of times buyer won't even notice when they do it, but it's just the tendency when viewing the house. So thank you very much for watching. I know this is a bit of a longer video, but some subjects, you know, take a bit more to explain. So thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.